It's one thing having a coach, but a coach that works for you. And what I appreciate about you, Ted, is that it's more holistic, because you can tell me how to go. And I wish they had more of this as well. This is the other aspect. You can tell me I can hire a personal coach to show me how to lift weights, but that's not enough. You need to think about diet. It needs to be a more holistic program. And so that in itself helped me having more holistic approach, because life happens outside of the gym. And so it's important to kind of understand what works for you so that you can achieve your goals.
What is up, my friend, and welcome to the Legendary Life Podcast. I'm your host, Ted Rice, health expert and coach to executives, entrepreneurs, and other high-performing professionals. Today, I have another success story for you. I'll be interviewing my client, Aoife. Now, Aoife, she is a rock star. Not only is she running her own business as an executive coach and healthcare consultant, but she's a wife and a mom as well. So she was already in good shape when we started training, but she was having some issues with some pains that were starting due to the type of training she was doing, as well as not getting the results she wanted. And not only did she get incredible results, Aoife got in such great shape. You can see her abs. She is just in insane good shape now. And what you're going to hear in this episode is the story of how that happened. Not just the triumphs, but some of the challenges she had, because she took vacations where she couldn't control the food that she was eating. She went on trips to go see family. We worked together for a year. So there was a lot that happened during that entire time. So if you want to hear Aoife's story and how she was able to go from this high-performing person, but not getting the results that she wanted from her exercise and nutrition program, to getting into the best shape of her life, we're about to step into that conversation right now. So let's get to it. Hey, Aoife, thanks so much for coming on the show and sharing your story today.
Hi, Ted. Thank you for having me.
And let's start out. Can you introduce yourself and just talk a little bit about the results you achieved while we were working together?
Yes, sure. So I'm Aoife Holden. I am an executive coach and a healthcare consultant. And in terms of the results that I had when I came to you, I knew that my current exercise regime was not getting me the results that I wanted, and I was stuck. And you came into my life at a point when, I didn't know such a coach existed. And so it was just, I was ready for it. I was ready for a change. I just didn't quite know the how to achieve it. And then I found you, Ted.
Amazing. Yeah. And you're saying that you're an executive coach and a consultant. And I would add to that, you're a total rock star of a coach and consultant. And not only are you in that in your own professional life, but you certainly killed it, if you will, with what we did together. You achieved such incredible results. And one of the reasons I'm so excited to have you on today is because I know you're going to inspire other people, specifically women, who may not, let's say, see the value in not just coaching, but to change their body using some of the things that we ended up using, for example, strength training. So to come back to your story, you were in a place where you were a bit stuck. If I remember correctly, you had been doing a lot of endurance activity. You were also struggling with, I think it was a bit of a back, nothing too crazy, but something going on with your back because of all the running, if I remember correctly. And then can you talk about what happened when you joined the program and some of the things that you experienced?
Yeah, and just to put it in context, my husband and I, we used to do half marathons. And I enjoyed running. I also enjoyed other things. I liked Pilates. I liked biking. However, I also know I have a competitive nature. And oftentimes I had friends who wanted me to do a full marathon. I thought, well, I'm trying to balance everything, have a work-life balance with my kids, my career, and trying to fit it all in. And I know I can be hard on myself. And so I had to I didn't want to overdo it and then not like running anymore. So doing a half marathon, we go to a different city every year and treat it as a fun activity. So I at least did 2 or 3 a year. However, because of my other aspects of my life, it became where I just had to get it in, right? I had to get my running in. I had to get so many miles in every week. And what I found was that I wasn't doing any other activities at certain points when you have to do those long runs. And that's when I started to have this issue with my knee. My right knee started bothering me. Went to PT a few times, didn't really change that. The other aspect is the lower back pain. There were a few times where, I would be out for a week. And I just thought to myself, this is not sustainable. That, doing this running is just not sustainable. And I knew that it wasn't over time going to get me to where I wanted to get to, which was in the back of my mind, is I knew I needed to increase my strength. Yes, it helped with endurance, but it wasn't helping with my strength. But I just didn't know, like I shared, I did Pilates, I did play tennis, I did these other sports, but I wasn't getting stronger. I actually was going the opposite, despite being fit, what I thought being fit looked like. The other aspect I found is over the years, right? There's so much information out there. It's a lot of noise, right? It's hard to decipher what is actually the truth and what it actually works for me. My husband and I did, we did the whole paleo thing, like we did detox, we the green juice, we did a lot of those things. And yet, despite that, I felt that my energy would wane in the afternoon at work. I would find myself being tired in the afternoon. And that was the other part of it, is like, what is going on? Like, I need to change up some things here. And hence I tried different experiments, but it wasn't getting me to the results that I wanted. And yes, so that's where I found myself before I found you, Ted.
Right. And we met because a mutual friend of you and your husband's, Trevor, who's been a testimonial more than once here, just sharing, because not only has he achieved great transformation, but he's kept it. And then we hopped on a call. We started working together. Can you talk a little bit about what happened after we met and decided to work together?
Yeah, absolutely. And as to your point, we ran into Trevor, just to give some context, and he looked great. And so my husband and I are going, well, what are you doing? we need some of that. And he introduced us to you. And my husband is also a client of yours. And I said, well, you can't do it. I need to do this too. So I hopped on board as well. I'm always open to anything that helps me grow and become more of the person I want to be. So I was all open into experimenting and try this. So you and I hopped on a call. Yeah. And I felt like after the call, I felt like this is going to be a new beginning. I was excited and very inspired. And I'd listened to some of your podcasts and did some research on you at that point. So I felt really inspired and ready to start the journey.
Excellent. Yeah. And you just, as I talked about when we first started this conversation, you achieved such great results. I mean, you can see your abs now. Whereas before, you did look good. You look great. Now you look great and super fit at the same time.
And I feel stronger.
And you feel stronger. What else?
I think there's something else to it on a deeper level, right? Going through this program, I would say it was at the beginning, it was hard work, right? Anytime we introduce a change in our lives, there's a lot of resistance at the beginning. but you just have to attach yourself to a higher purpose. And part of what was driving me was the fact that, I have teenage children, and now they're at a point where they're faster than me at a lot of different things. And I want to, I want to travel, there are lots of things that I want to do. And you need to be fit. Like if you go to Europe, right, as you and I have talked about, there are a lot, you walk everywhere. And I want to be healthy. And I want to be healthy for my kids. I want to be healthy for my grandkids. And that's very important to me. It's a value to me. And so I wanted to, as part of that, become stronger. And that was my intention and my purpose. And I'm sorry, I might have just gone off your question a bit. But so what I had in place for that. So that was sort of the overall sort of aspiration. That was the aspiration goal for me. And so one of the things I recognize that in order to create change, and I do this with my clients all the time, is you have to look at what support systems that you have in place. First, you have to have like an aspiration. It has to attach to the why. Why am I doing this, right? It can't just be about, okay, I want to lose weight. I want to get stronger. I want better muscle tone. It's got to be something more. And for me, it was just getting stronger. And as shared earlier, that injury, I knew that that was not sustainable. And I wanted to do something where I wouldn't injure myself and have long-term consequences. And having you as a coach was necessary because I didn't know what I was doing when it came to the program that I needed that would work for me. The other part of me, it does really help to have support. So, having support of my kids, having the support of you as my coach, to be accountable, having the support of my husband to show up every day, and also having, there's certain little things that you need to do. You need to say, look at your environment and say, okay, what do I need to do in order to make this work? And for me, it's important. I do my workouts in the morning because I'm fresh in the morning. I get my protein shake going. I go to do my workout. I set aside time, and that's very important to me. And it's become like that is my self-time, taking care of myself, and I deserve that. That was the other self-talk that I needed to do. It's important to take it. You can't take care. Even when my kids were younger, people used to say to me, "Happy mommy, happy baby." You cannot take care of others if you cannot take care of yourself. So I need to, right, as a parent, as a mother, show that behavior that I'm taking care of myself and I deserve to take care of myself. So blocking out that time in the morning, I put on my music, I do my workout. That's my time, and that's preserved time for me during the day. And at night, before I go to bed, I get everything ready. I get my washer ready. I make sure my iPods are plugged in. I have my shake ready to go in the morning, my iced coffee, my workout gear I lay out at the night before. Getting in the habit of getting up early in the morning because I get up anywhere between 5 and 5:30, and getting into those habits, I have to systematically create those systems in order for me to be able to move forward. So that's one aspect. And the other aspect, which we'll talk about, is also how I ate was another aspect. One of the things I recognize as a woman, I was not getting enough protein in my diet. And that's one of the things that you emphasized. I was way under my necessary protein intake, which as I discovered, as I started to shift my diet and eat more protein foods and getting enough protein in my diet, my energy levels changed. I no longer had that afternoon sort of tiredness that happened. I was able to sustain, I noticed I was able to sustain a good energy level all throughout the day. And then at night, I was tired, but it was a good tired. It was a good tired. That's another aspect, sleep, right? So the fundamental is sleep and diet, which is, it's more, your coaching is more than just about working out. It's the whole person. It's also about sleep. It's about diet. It's about self-care. It's about all those things that you need in place to be successful. Sleep was another aspect you and I worked on, and making sure I was getting sufficient sleep and measuring and monitoring my sleep and recognizing how that does impact your workouts. It impacts how you eat that day. It impacts everything. And so some of those fundamentals what I appreciate, Ted, about you, it's not just about the workout. It's about everything else that you need in place in order to succeed and get the results that you want.
Yeah, because it seems like for me, in my experience, there's no other way to make it last unless you address those. Did you find that to be true for yourself as well? Like you felt the need to change all these things that you mentioned?
Absolutely. I started to, you helped me create awareness around some of the fundamental aspects because as I was going through this, as I was acknowledging the changes that were happening, I recognized, yes, how fundamental that sleep is, right? Well, let's just start there, right? Because for recovery. And if you're not getting fundamental sleep, it does affect your ability in terms of how you work out the next day, how you eat the next day. It's number one. The other part is making sure you and I talked a lot about this because I had to really increase the protein in my diet. And I wasn't used to eating that much protein. But I recognized also as I was trying to build more tone and more muscle, it was important that I got sufficient amount of protein, right? Because muscle is built from protein, and making sure that I also managed my macros and made sure that I had the appropriate amounts in my diet. So that's fundamental number two. And what drove me to that was just recognizing how my energy, again, was more sustainable throughout the day. I would not go, so I've stayed on that pattern. And you helped us recognize a lot of foods. It's interesting. That was the other part. Reading food labels, recognizing, how much protein. There are so much foods, in the States where it's just full of carbohydrates, full of sugar. And I think my kids have gotten on the same bandwagon, especially my son. He reads, there's so much sugar in our foods, and you have to educate yourself. Read the labels on foods and what's in them, and recognizing, again, protein, protein, protein. I can't say enough about that. And the third aspect is the workouts. So if you have those things in line, is then the workouts that work for you and your body type and what it is you're trying to achieve. And for me, it was more muscle tone. As I get older, I lose muscle. So it's important as a woman that you do weights. I'm still surprised, Ted, at how few women I see in the workout room. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to come on this podcast. I think my perception before was that, when you brought up the idea of lifting weights, some of those weight workouts, I'm like, but I'm going to get big and bulky.
Right. Very
right?
common.
You and I used to argue about this. That was the story I told myself. That was the perception in my head. And that's not true. And now I look at all the social media and you see stars. And if you read it between the lines, they're eating protein, they're getting sleep. And you know what? They are doing weights. So it is possible it does not bulk you up. It gives you tone. And that's the only way you're going to get that is through lifting weights and doing those types of workouts.
Yeah. If only we could just go into the gym and get bulky after a few 45 or 60-minute workouts per week, right? It's hard work because you and I, after we got you nice and lean, we were working on building muscle, and it's a slow process. When you're showing up and working hard, it doesn't happen. It's kind of like worrying about, I'm going to go to work, but I don't want you to pay me too much money, right? It's like you have to work for your muscle. You have to work hard for it. And we don't have as much as we think. And certainly to your point about with women, it's a very common belief. And but when I only see happy women after they start training.
You only see happy women after they
what I meant was I see women get happier with the way that they look, the way their body ends up changing as a result of lifting weights.
Oh, absolutely. And I just want to say here, I have not had any back pain. I have had no pains. The only pains I've had are more of that like good pain, like I'm recovering, like I know I did something good for my body today, as you're sharing, like building muscle. So I've not had any of that. I feel so much stronger, and I never thought that was achievable. Yeah, I am, and as you shared, I want to emphasize, yes, the results when you have to build up muscle, it's a slow process. You have to be patient with yourself. But what helped me is just, as you and I adjusted the goals, right? I would do more reps or I would lift a heavier weight. And so there was a sense of accomplishment from showing up week after week and starting to see that I could lift heavier weights, I could do more reps. And so that felt really good. At least it was one thing sort of like, okay, I've done this for myself today. And so that was very inspirational. And it's also sort of that inner sense of, yeah, if I put my mind to it, like I can do this with the help of a coach, let me emphasize, because again, had I figured this out, you and I would have never met and I was stuck. And so you helped me get unstuck and on a journey. And my husband and I say this all the time, like we would never go back to what it was 18 months ago.
Wow. Why?
Because we were in a rut, right? We were stuck. We were not achieving the health goals. We were both in healthcare, so we understand how important it is, right? Taking care of your health is. I would not go back to that. Because I wasn't allowing myself to take care of myself better, right? I also recognize that I have more energy. I feel much better about myself and my health journey. I feel stronger. Can I catch up with my teenage son and daughter who are in competitive sports? No, let that go. But I can tell, like I do other sports, like I ski, I road bike. I can still do those things and I have better endurance because I am stronger. So yeah, and I make it a priority. It's now part of my life. It's a part of my pattern every day. It's a part of my habits. And anytime, as you and I both know as coaches, right, when you're trying to build a habit, it takes time. And so, yes, were there times at the beginning where I fell back? Yes, but you don't just throw your hands up and go, that's it. You just start again the next day and just keep building on it. And eventually it becomes part of your pattern, part of your habit, and it's easier. Now it's just my normal part of my week to do my workouts. And I feel a difference when I don't, sort of, because it's the endorphins I think that you get from having a good workout in the morning and feeling good starting your day with that.
So now you feel the lack of that if you go without a workout, huh?
Absolutely. And then you can enlist. And the other part of me as a parent, right? I'm emulating behaviors I want my kids to emulate. So my kids are in sports. You talked me into doing jujitsu, which, by the way, I've continued to do. My daughter and I are getting our pink belt in jiu-jitsu and women's empowerment. So we've continued to do that. And that's our little thing. And so on Saturday mornings, we do that together. So I made it sort of involved other parts of my life in with that. My husband and I oftentimes work out together. So, I get to spend time with my loved ones and do my workouts at the same time. So, yeah.
What was the most challenging part of the program for you? Was there one aspect or one moment? I know you traveled a lot. Was there something where like, oh, wow, this is really difficult? Was there a tough moment you're willing to share?
I think there were a few things. Yeah. I think that the first part was just the protein, when shifting from my diet to where, especially at the beginning, where we were focusing on eating more protein. Eating more protein was challenging.
Very common.
Yes, right. Trying to get enough protein in my diet. That was challenging just because if you look at sort of our culture and a lot of our foods are not built around protein. So you really have to search it out and have to plan and prepare for what you're going to eat. So that was a challenge. The other part was being patient because, as you said, you and I had these conversations. It takes time to build muscle. and recognizing also with that it takes time, and that also how important recovery is and how important getting enough sleep is. So I really had to work. You and I talked about that as well. Like, what do I need to do in order to make sure I'm getting sufficient sleep? And, that's a challenge. And it continues to be, a challenge that I'm working on. Those were definitely certain aspects of the program. And I would say at the beginning, Ted, like showing up in the workout room, I looked like a deer in headlights. I had no idea what I was doing. I said, I'm going to do this. You had given me a program. You had given, making sure my videos that I looked at, making sure I had the proper form, working through it's intimidating. As a woman, I found it very intimidating because as shared, I would show up. There weren't a lot of other women in the weight room, and just sort of, I said, I just need to get over myself and just do this. And it gave me that sense of confidence to be like, to show up. I had my videos. You and I worked through workouts, what felt good, what didn't feel so good. We talked about form. We talked about all those nuances. And I felt so comfortable working through that with you. I had you there as my advocate, as my coach. And it just made it, I channeled my inner Ted as I was doing these workouts. So it really helped me, give me the confidence I needed and to just show up and do what I needed and stay focused. Because that was, I would have never, without your help, just walked into that weight workout area before, because I wouldn't know what to do. I wouldn't have known what to do. And I understand proper form is fundamental, making sure that, as you are building that muscle, that you're doing it appropriately and not injuring yourself.
Oh, thanks for sharing, Aoife. Especially, I don't remember you saying, or at least emphasizing, how uncomfortable you felt when you first got into the weight room. So thanks for sharing that. And I know a woman listening right now, there's at least one listening right now who might feel the same way. So yeah, thanks so much for sharing. Was there something you wanted to follow up with there?
No, I think it's because, as shared again, you're usually in the minority when you go into the weight area, which is why I'm on here too, to inspire more women to do this. It works.
Yeah, well, I would love to see more women in the gym here in Portugal. Interestingly enough, where I am right now, there's a lot of women working out in the gym. Probably still more guys, but where you are, it's interesting, and maybe in the States overall. Let me ask you a question. Was there some aspect of your life that ended up changing that kind of surprised you in a positive way, where you just didn't even think like this type of change was going to happen? Was there anything like that?
That's a great question. So just to reiterate that some aspect of my life, I think that one of the fundamental things, you have to have belief in yourself that you can do it. And, I've had a successful career in consulting. Usually if I put my mind to something and I'm determined, I can get it, which is why when I came to you, I was stuck. I'm like, okay, well, clearly this isn't working for me. And I think the aspect is how important it is to have a coach. I didn't really understand. It's one thing having a coach, but a coach that works for you. And what I appreciate about you, Ted, is that it's more holistic, because you can tell me how to go. And I wish they had more of this as well. This is the other aspect. You can tell me I can hire a personal coach to show me how to lift weights, but that's not enough. You need to think about sleep. You need to think about diet. It needs to be a more holistic program. And so that in itself helped me having more holistic approach, because life happens outside of the gym. And so it's important to kind of understand what works for you so that you can achieve your goals. So I think that kind of highlighted the importance of that. And I recognize now I'm in charge of my own destiny, like what I choose to do every day. It's my choice. It's a choice. I don't have to do what I do, but the importance of getting back to why we wouldn't go back to what we were 18 months ago. It's because I have results. I have achieved these results. I have a better knowledge from our coaching together about what it is that I need for me in order to do that. And I always know you're there if I need you, which is nice. So yeah, I feel more confident in terms of how I move through the world after this. I feel more confident that, yes, my aspiration to continue to travel, that I have the tools in place in order to be able to live that out in the future. I went on I got myself in this summer. I went on how many miles? 65-mile bike ride. Now I hadn't been really, yeah. So I hadn't been planning before that to do this bike ride. I hadn't really trained enough, very little. But I think it's just because my mindset and the fact that I had been working out, I had the strength, I was able to endure that. So, and also the importance of after that bike ride recovering. So I know I'm sorry if I'm waffling a bit, but yeah, I think it's just that we all need help. We all need, like, if you're stuck, get the help that you need, and recognizing that how important that is. If you want to change something, well, I would have already done it, wouldn't I? I wouldn't have, and that's where you came in. And just recognizing that that's important is to, if you're stuck and you're not getting the results that you want, get a coach. So yeah, guess that's the roundabout way of getting to the point.
No, I thought mentioning all those aspects was really important, or all the details and the context was really important. You almost kind of answered this last question for me, but I'll just ask it anyway. What would you say to someone who's on the fence about coaching? What would you tell them?
Well, first, okay, now I'm trying to get out of my coaching mode. Being a coach myself, what is getting in your way? A lot of times, it's a story we tell ourselves, right? And I shared with you early in the podcast the story I told myself. So I think we need to realize the importance of growth. And if something's not working for you, it's not working for you, and you need to try something different. And so I would say you need to have an open mind, and you need to experiment. And that's how I came into this with you. I said, well, I'm stuck. What I've been doing is not working. And so I sought your help as a coach and to help me get unstuck. And I was willing to experiment. And you and I bantered back and forth because I questioned some of those things. I said, but you know what? I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to try it. What's the worst that can happen? And then once I started seeing the results, I just started experimenting more and more. And I think it's important to be open-minded and try something new. Something's not working, try something new, experiment with something different. And that's what I did. Hence, here I am today, 18 months later.
Amazing, Aoife. And you, like I said, you just totally crushed it. You were one of the people, I think I ended up sharing this with you during the process, but it's like, Aoife, I don't think you realize just you're crushing it compared to some of the other clients. I have clients all around the spectrum, but despite the challenges, and everybody has challenges, but you just did an incredible job being an excellent and coachable student. And your results were just phenomenal. And it was an absolute pleasure. And I'm super proud of you, Aoife.
Thank you. Thank you. And I would say that I'm proud of myself.
You should be, yeah.
Yes, I'm proud of the work that we did together. Very much proud of it. And thank you, Ted. I didn't know this existed. And I'm just so grateful. So grateful. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Thanks for coming on today and sharing this especially. And there's nothing like a client sharing a story like this that would inspire someone else to take action, whether it's hiring a coach or just a woman who's getting into the gym for the first time and walking over to that free weight area with confidence. So thanks so much for coming on and sharing your story.
No, I'm happy to. And I hope it inspires other women out there to just take the leap, and how important it is, as shared, that we continue to build up our strength, right? That's really important. A lot of the media out there is not accurate. So, and I love the fact, and I know we didn't talk about this necessarily in the program, but I like data. I do really appreciate the fact when I would question things, how you would pull up the scientific data and you would share that with me. And those are based on science. So, you can't argue with that. So I really appreciate the thoroughness of that you went into in terms of what I needed to understand why this is important in terms of how I approach the program. And so that was really helpful for me.
Great. Thanks for adding that last part, because I think it's so important with so many people saying things out there, and it's where is that coming from, right?
Yes.
So it's very important. And I appreciated when you asked those questions, and I actually got a chance to bring up a paper without someone falling asleep in the process. So it's nice.
No, I was just as interested as you are. And I think that's fundamental as well. And is that, it's fundamental because you keep up to date with the scientific research and data, and you clearly love it. And I think it's important because as with anything, right, we're always learning and growing and trying to adjust things, right? The more research we do, we find, and so that's important that you've kept up to date with that. I don't have to, because I'll just ask you and you'll say, well, based on these studies, this is what's proven. Like we talked about glutes, right? These are the exercises that will help with that. And just staying apprised of that's really important as well, which is very different from other, workout coaches that I've had. It's sort of, and it's an important aspect to, what you're doing. So I just wanted to share that with you. That was really helpful for me.
Great. Well, Aoife, thanks again for coming on. And I look forward to hearing more about how you've been able to keep up this lifestyle since working together. So really, really a pleasure, and looking forward to connecting again soon.
Okay. Thank you, Ted. Happy to be here.
That's it for today, my friend. I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Aoife. And what I want to ask you right now is, what about her story resonated with you? Did you see yourself in her story? And what can you take away from this conversation to apply in your own life? And if you are in a position where you're a high performer and you just want someone to create the perfect step-by-step diet, nutrition, and holistic health program that fits exactly into your life, that's personalized to you, so that you can get results just like Aoife's, go to legendarylifeprogram.com/apply. That's legendarylifeprogram.com/apply.